Hi, I'm Vic. I'm the creator of the Wolf of Young Street podcast. I'm having some fun conversations and I'd really like you to come along for the ride. So join us every week for dynamic discussions on the hustle, challenges, and the triumphs of today's generation.
I'm Quinn. I'm 18. I was born in Canada, and I was born in New West, and my family's always like lived in the Lower Mainland. But I come from a lower income family. We've always kind of like struggled with like keeping food on the table and maintaining rent, and it's just been like that my whole life. Some nights my mom would be like, "Oh, we might have to go live on the streets," or like she'd tell me like as a kid like, "Oh, we're probably gonna have to go move in the homeless shelter." I just hear that a lot, and that would just make me like very sad as a kid.
Would you say that has affected the way you view money and the way you view resources?
Well, yeah, at first, cause like my whole life I'd like grown up with like not like my clothes came from like thrift stores. I never really got like any expensive things. So when I first started getting money, the first thing I went out and did was buy like fancy shoes, designer clothes. For like the first year I had my job, I was just buying like expensive things, and then I realized like that it doesn't really make me happy having these expensive things. It didn't really change like anything about like how I was living, my happiness or anything.
Wow. No, that's profound because so many people go through a lot of what you've gone through and don't come to that. I thought I'd say that. So, with that realization in mind, I'm curious, what makes you happy?
What makes me happy? Not much in life, really. I've never really been happy at all throughout my life.
What do you think it will take to make you happy?
I guess because my parents, like I said, they never like graduated from high school. Like they all dropped out. So I think like the goal I've had that I thought would maybe bring happiness is if I went to or graduated high school and then went to college and got a high paying job, so I can kind of like prove that I kind of did something to my family.
You're graduating high school very soon, right? Would graduating high school be something that you would say, you know what, this makes me happy because I've done something I set out to do. I put my mind to it. I've worked towards it, and I've achieved it. Would that make you happy?
Personally, I don't think it would because as soon as I graduate from high school, I'm gonna try to go straight to college, and I know that's just gonna be even more stressful than high school was. I want to achieve. I want to at least have a very high paying job that pays up like above what most adults are getting paid. I want to have a house.
So your goal is to find a job and still, if you got these things, you don't believe you would be happy.
Probably not.
So I'm happy to kind of go back and forth if you want.
All right.
But for me, it's like I'm very similar in the sense that when I achieve something, my mind is straight up to onto the next one and onto the next one, and I never take time to kind of like sit back and actually be like, "Damn, I did something
Like
good,"
appreciate
and
what
I
you
appreciate
achieved.
what you did. But then part of what I've seen is over time that eats at you, right? It tears away at your self-worth and it eats away at your mental health in the end. And your self-appreciation can kind of hit the floor. Okay? So I'm going to leave that there just because it's something I see that you're kind of thinking about. What do you want to do in the future?
I want to try to get into computer science. Well, when I was in high school, I originally wanted to be an electrician. So like I would try all these like trades. Like I want to be an electrician. I want to be this. I want to be that. Like a tradesman. But when I actually took courses in high school that would like kind of show you what the trades are like, I like just didn't like working around like machines and stuff, like dangerous situations. And then I was just taking a bunch of courses just to experiment to see what I liked. And I took a programming course. And I just found like I just sit back and I like get told to like write this, and then it's like problem solving almost. It's like I'm solving a puzzle.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of enjoyed with it. It's like you write a whole code. Like someone tells you to write something, you like gotta like plan before like what you're gonna do, like what you're gonna write. You write that down, and then you try to use the code. It won't work like the first couple times. You gotta go back and like solve all the problems in your own code. I just like enjoyed that a lot more than doing more hands-on,
Yeah.
like maintenance kind of work. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And just a more general question now. Why do you think? What do you think the biggest influence on the careers that young people? Because I mean, you've told me your reason, but what do you think in general influences most young people to pick certain career paths?
Usually, I think it's usually with their parents will like be like, you gotta be this, you gotta be that, and so I've talked to a lot of kids who are in college. They'll like take a biology or something like biology, physics, something like that, because their parents kind of pressured them to. But every time they tell me they don't really enjoy it at all, and they like don't want to do it. But then on the other hand, I'll like see a kid who isn't being pressured by his parents to go into a certain career path, and they just genuinely don't know what they want to do. So like they'll go to college for like philosophy or just general stuff.
What do you think is the role of parents in deciding, in helping children decide what they choose to do in the future?
Well, I don't think a parent should really decide what their child should do in the future, but I feel like they should help influence them to find something they're interested in, so they can like find a career in what they enjoy. Are interested in.
That's okay. Obviously, you've heard of the student loan crisis in the U.S. and maybe to a lesser extent here. Do you think school is worth it?
Personally, yeah, because studies have shown that on average, people that go to school usually get higher paying jobs than people that don't. So in that way, I think it's worth it. But being in a lot of debt. It's because, like, sure, you have a higher paying job, but you're in so much debt, you might be paying it off for the rest of your life. So in some ways, I think it is worth it, but in some ways, I don't think it really is.
Why do you choose to go to school as against being an Instagram influencer?
Because with a lot of Instagram influencers, it's shown to be not so reliable, as you're constantly, like, what people are interested in constantly changes on the internet.
Yeah.
So like the longevity of an Instagram influencer is not very long.
Couldn't you argue that, well, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. If you could make $1 million in a year, sure, people's interests move along, but then you've got $1 million. So why school? Why when you can make $1 million that way?
With school, you're gonna end up with a more stable job that can last your entire life, where you'd slowly like work your way up in whatever profession you choose. You slowly get paid more and more. So I feel like over time you'd be making more than the guy who made $1 million.
So let's do some math, right? And we're having a discussion here, right? Let's do some math. What if, say, a person is getting paid, you're just coming out of school, you're getting paid $60,000 a year, right? How long? Just if we're doing the math here, in 10 years you've made, if you stick to $60,000 on average for 10 years, you've only made $600,000, right? Now imagine you made $1 million in 1 year as an Instagram influencer, and you took that money and you invested that money, or you bought a house which appreciates over that same 10 years. Wouldn't you agree that you could be a lot richer than you would be working 9 to 5 at $60,000 for 10 years?
I don't think so. 'Cause like in 10 years, yeah, you make with $60K, you make like $600K, but in 10 more years, you'd have like 1.2 mil. Like, sure, the influencer would just have 1 mil, could invest that, but that 1 mil is gonna slowly drain away from their living necessities.
My point is just to say, do you think that the reason a lot of kids these days are choosing to be online, to do these jobs where they're Instagram influencers or or they work on OnlyFans or whatever the other outlet is because there's a chance that you could hit it big, make a lot of money, and without as much, maybe not as much effort as a person working a 9 to 5. Do you think what do you think of that?
It's a good career path. I mean, you can make a lot of money easily, but you're not really contributing to society going into a career path like that.
I was about to say, the people who patronize the OnlyFans will probably beg to disagree. They're contributing quite a bit to society. but forget I said that. What do you think about the homelessness crisis in Vancouver right now?
I think it's terrible. I mean, whenever I'm in Vancouver in town, I go walk around, I see like a homeless person just like sitting or like just sleeping on the sidewalk, and almost every time I notice they're like on some sort of hard drug, may that be like meth or crack or maybe even heroin. I always tend to notice they're always on something, and it doesn't seem like they're getting much support or help with their problems.
So some people say mental health is the reason why a lot of these people abuse drugs. And some other people on the other side of the argument say, you know what, the drugs came before the mental health deterioration. Where do you land on that argument?
I definitely lean more towards mental health causing drug addictions.
Right.
I've met a lot of teenagers who kind of grew up like with a rougher lifestyle.
Right.
And the ones who usually are more sad or depressed or have more mental problems are usually the ones who are like doing the harder drugs to cope with that. So like I've met a bunch of people who like maybe in an abusive household their whole life, and then like they'll like start doing cocaine and all that just to like kind of like cope with it. But like with someone who's like, I guess maybe like a less rough of a household, or maybe like they might just do something like weed.
I think I'll stop there for now because I think we've delved into a lot of deep stuff, and I don't want to pull you into more. But thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being open and honest about a lot of stuff that I know is difficult for you to talk about.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Wolf of Young Street podcast. If you derived value from this podcast, please don't forget to subscribe. I would love to hear from you as well, so please comment your thoughts down below.